Hello, my name is Matthew Deutsch. I'm a professional business plan writer. I've been developing business plans for the past 20 years, and this is part of an ongoing video series that I'm creating just to discuss varying topics related to creating a business plan, developing a marketing plan, starting a business, and that's going to be in both a general capacity as well as for specific industries, which I pretty much have dealt with in their entirety over the past 20 years. Today's topic is going to be specific for discussing your marketing plan. If you take a look at some of the other videos that I've created, I delve into it somewhat in regards to creating a business plan in general, but here I'm going to discuss specifically this topic. Of all the sections of the business plan, I always consider the marketing plan to be one of the most important. Obviously, you're going to have sections that deal with how much money you're looking to raise, or if you're self-financing your business, how those funds are going to be used, the product or service that you're offering, and the market research, which is equally important, and I'll discuss that in a separate video. But really the most important thing for any business is to make people who are going to potentially buy your product or service aware of what you're doing, how much it's going to cost, exactly what they're going to get for what they pay. And this is just going to go into detail about developing the marketing plan section again. Most importantly, when you're developing a marketing plan for any type of business, you're going to want to showcase the multiple ways that you can market your business. If you're a local company, a restaurant, a power washing business, you're going to want to focus heavily not only on online marketing, but also sort of traditional methods of marketing as well. For instance, if you're a restaurant, you're going to want to allocate a certain part of your budget towards distributing menus or flyers, or taking out advertisements in regional lifestyle magazines, things of that nature. And certainly that's going to pair heavily with things like having your online presence, starting a social media presence, engaging in search engine optimization. So you're going to want to take a pretty broad view. In regards to the business plan, this should typically be one of the longer sections of the plan. In any business plan that I write, it's almost always the longest section, whereas discussing the financing, maybe 1 to 2 pages, or the product or service, maybe about 2 pages. The marketing plan should usually encompass around 3 to 5 pages, depending on what you're doing. And that is subject to depending on what type of industry you're operating within. One of the ways that I go about it when I create a marketing plan is to split it in half, discussing first the online marketing strategies, which are these days the most important thing. Everyone uses their phone or an internet browser to find exactly what they're looking for. So very heavily discussing, again, having a very search engine optimized presence, especially if you're a local business. One of the things I've noticed in the past 10 years that there's been a huge spike in the number of companies that provide search engine optimization specific for locally based businesses, as well as regional businesses as well. And you can hire one of these companies to assist you, especially if you're starting any type of business that's going to be a high traffic business like a restaurant or a retail store. One of the things I can just recommend as just a suggestion is that when you decide you're going to first start your business, first launch the website. You'll get a huge jump on SEO, which can sometimes take 1 to up to 6 months to become fully effective. So if you're able to put together even sort of a basic website that showcases your business name, the anticipated address, or if you're a home-based business, if your home address, or if you've got a PO box, something of that nature will help you go the distance, especially once you get up and running and start aggressively marketing the business. The same deal with your social media pages. If you can establish those early on, establish just a minimal following, and provide updates along the way, once you have your grand opening or start rendering the service you're providing, you'll already have a bit of a following that you can start to trade on once you get fully up and running. One of the things that should also be included in your marketing plan is the return on advertising expenditure. And this is where things can get slightly complicated because you are going to have so many different segments of how you're going to be marketing your business. You want to maximize the best ways to do it. And there are a few ways to go about this, and every industry works slightly different. One of the things I always point out, especially if you're a product-based business, is that certainly you want to maintain a huge following on social media, especially if you're going to be rolling out new products. One of the issues is if you use a lot of blanket social media advertising, you're sort of marketing in a more general way, and you're showing your business to other people, but you're not really showing exactly your product or services specifically for people that are looking at it at that moment. One of the things I can recommend is that when you are a new business, to have a very significant portion of your advertising budget allocated towards pay-per-click marketing. And the reason being is that when someone types in for specific products or service, your website will appear very frequently in those search results as a sponsored result. This way, someone that's actually looking for your product or service at that very moment will be taken directly to your webpage. And while social media, targeted social media can be great, and definitely has a lot of applicability for increasing brand visibility or showcasing a new product launch or a service launch. Those early years I have found always benefit very heavily for pay-per-click, whether it's through Google and Microsoft through their Bing network. You may see a much higher return on that marketing investment by being very specific regarding who you're targeting when engaging in that type of advertising. And again, this is not a one-size-fits-all. This can vary very heavily. For instance, let's say you're starting a software as a service company. Your advertising expenditures could be as high as 50 to 75% of your total revenue at the start. In a very competitive market, something related to e-commerce or again software as a service, any application-related business, you're going to have to very much front load your marketing campaign and to onboard a number of users as possible. If you're a business like, let's say, a restaurant or a power washing business, this may be, and most likely will be, a far less capital intensive part of your business because you're most likely operating in a local or regional basis, and you'll be able to have other methods of marketing that will increase your brand name awareness. One of the other things that I do beyond splitting sort of the traditional with the online marketing, especially again, just returning to more local businesses, also discuss referrals. If you are, let's say, a contractor or a pressure washing business or any service-based business, you can conduct outreach with real estate agents. If you're a dog walking business, work with local veterinarians. Anything that's going to increase your visibility on a local level will help tremendously. And a lot of times that can be done at either minimal cost or no cost, just to increase your visibility through those means. And again, this will be the longest and probably one of the more complicated sections of the business plan to write. The market research is far more time intensive, but it doesn't require a huge amount of in-depth thought because you're mostly just gathering information, looking at your competitors, looking at your local market. Whereas with the marketing, you're also just thinking about how you're going to position your brand, logos, developing your website, things of that nature. It requires a lot of sort of diligent thought. And you'll go back many times as you write your marketing plan, back and forth, thinking of different ways that you can promote your business. Even right now, for my business, which is writing business plans, and as part of this video series, I am promoting my business, but that is just sort of a moderate component of this. Creating a video series regarding what I do and topics related to it. Another low cost or zero cost way of promoting a business. So you should take all of that into account. One of the things I also will typically do for each type of marketing is not only showcase the budget, but also include what the anticipated return on advertising spend is. It's sometimes just short ROAS or pronounced ROAS. A lot of, if you are dealing with an online focused business, you'll see that come up quite frequently. But even if you're a traditional business, that's something you're going to want to take a look at as well to make sure that for every dollar you're spending on advertising or marketing, how much am I getting in return for that channel? And there are a number of programs online that can help you. If you go to our website, and the link is below, we have some tools that are available for free that you can use to assist you in doing so. And I'll be adding additional tools as time goes on. And then the final note I wanted to make is regarding franchising. For any other, if you're an online business, digital business, or traditional business, you're most likely operating in independent capacity where you're not affiliated with a national chain or a regional chain. When it comes to franchising for when it comes to marketing for a franchise, this may be a little bit more limited in scope. Many franchisors require that their franchisee not only pay their royalty fee, but also maintain add a certain percentage of your total revenue to their, let's say, national or regional advertising fund. One of the things you should also consider, and you can work with your attorney or the person you're working with in regards to potentially becoming a franchisee, is to very thoroughly review that franchise disclosure. It's called a franchise disclosure document, or FDD. This basically outlines what you can and cannot do, the ways you can use the brand, the types of marketing that you can engage on an independent basis, away from the franchisor. So just review that very carefully. Some franchisors and franchise systems, fully control the way that all aspects of marketing are completed. And that's usually for larger and more established franchise systems. For more local and smaller based, franchise systems, you may have a little bit more latitude in regards to how you do that. But again, just double check your franchise disclosure document to make sure that that's clearly spelled out about what you can and cannot do. Sometimes in certain instances, beyond contributing to a regional or national fund, you may also be required to engage in local marketing on your own as a percentage of your revenue. So just double check all those figures just as a heads up if that's the way you're going about this. And that's essentially it. Certainly, just in closing, again, very new to this. This is a new video series that I'm creating. One of the hopes of this is that it'll help spur discussion, and certainly if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. You can visit my website, which is the link below. It's dtcapitalinc.com. And certainly if you're in need of a business plan, if you've already started one and you're struggling a bit with it, or you're just completely new to it and just want someone to help you, I'm always here and always available to answer any questions you have. And again, thank you very much for taking a look. Take care.